joining on another episode of our Return to Service podcast. With me today is Ben Reeves from Stow. So super excited to have Ben come on the show. He's a legend in the industry and certainly a great leader as well as a mentor in a lot of ways for many people. So wanted to invite Ben and let Ben introduce himself and as well as Stow. Go ahead, Ben.
Okay. Thank you, Santos. Ben Reeves. For the last 14 years, I've been the Vice President of Sales for Stow, located here in north of Atlanta. Before that, I spent 15 years with Tug. Started there in 1993. You said legend. I'm not so sure about the legend part. I think I'm just one of the old guys who's been around a long time. So,
hey, that's how it starts, right?
I guess so. So here in Norcross, Georgia, we've got about 35 employees here, 40,000 square feet. Anybody who's listening, welcome to come by and check it out anytime. We'd like to have visitors here.
So, that's great. So Ben, for those that don't know Stow, and especially what the equipment does, could you describe a little bit about what Stow exactly does and how it's different from what else you could find in the market?
The solution we offer to customers is we talk to them and find out what their favorite or their preferred belt loader chassis is. And then we purchase that belt loader chassis on their behalf and then fit our Stow roller track system to it. The roller track system is a system that goes inside the aircraft, makes the 90-degree turn, and delivers the bag to the bulkhead or to wherever they want to stack it inside the plane. So it eliminates that function of someone sitting on their knees at the door having to pick the bag up and throw it 25 feet down the hole to the next person. So that's essentially what it does. And opposite on when you go to offload it, you just have to have one person inside the aircraft, basically drop the bag onto it or pull the bag onto the system, and then it takes it out the door and down the belt loader. So
gotcha, very cool. And then you mentioned that you start off with Tug. I mean, what brought you to aviation? Was it Tug, or was that something a passion from long ago?
Well, it's kind of a funny story, I guess. I was dating this young lady named Amy, who's now my wife, and her father owned Tug, and that's how I wound up there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
And the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, he sold it about 5 years later, and I stayed on another 10 years after he sold it. So.
Gotcha. Okay. And then what was the motivation to go to Stow?
So between Tug and Stow, I actually owned a business for 4 years, not in the GSE industry. And when we sold that business, I needed a job. So my wife told me to go find a job. And I made a couple of phone calls, and about a week later, I got a call from Martin Vestergaard, and he asked me if I was interested. I said yes. I flew over to Denmark and started working for him. So
there you go.
At that time, we didn't have any customers over here in the U.S., and so I worked out of the house, I think, for the first 3 or 4 years. But, fortunately, it took off.
Yeah, very much so. You see them everywhere now. So and Stows go on top of Tugs, right? I mean, on some of the
Tug or TLD or a variety of belt loaders. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. And then, hey, I guess it would be amiss if we didn't talk about what's happening in a couple of weeks. We're going to be at the GSE Expo show in Europe.
That's right.
And certainly AIMA is a big part of that, and you're a big part of AIMA. So would love to hear a bit more about what you're looking forward to there, and share anything for the audience here in regards to the show and where they can find you and what they should look out for.
Sure. Well, this will be the first time the show will have been held in Lisbon. So AIMA's main mission is to help control the cost around the shows, the number of shows, the timing, those type of things. So, we take feedback from the members, and so we tried to pick a place where we were at least had the best chance of good weather, because so much of the exhibition is outside.
Yeah.
And as far as Europe goes, Lisbon is a somewhat lower cost city to operate, certainly than Paris or some of the other choices we had. So it's a little bit of an experiment. Lisbon the first time. We, of course, keeping our fingers crossed. I'm already checking the weather. which so far looks good. And just hope it's a successful show for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very exciting. I've never been to Portugal, so looking forward to that. So that would
Yeah,
be very interesting. And certainly, I think the Paris show was the first time IEMA hosted the GSE Expo. Correct? Is
that's
that
correct.
in
That's
Europe?
correct. Yeah,
And yeah, and that was a great show. We certainly thought it was very fruitful, and so looking forward to
yeah,
the same.
yeah. It is. It's certainly a different, somewhat different group of folks that come to the Europe show versus the
Hmm.
U.S. show, which I guess is to be expected. So yeah, no, it's nice to see customers from a different part of the world
Yeah, absolutely.
coming around. So yeah.
Is there anything new and exciting that you'll be showcasing at the show? Or
Well, new or newish. We will have our typical demo setup there with a Power Stow roller track and our 737 mock-up
oh, nice.
belly. But we will be showcasing our new assisted docking system,
Okay.
which is kind of an advancement from collision avoidance, because we don't just want to not hit the aircraft. We have to dock on the aircraft, and so this
Hmm.
system allows the operator. It helps them if the operator's coming in too high, too low, too far left, too far right. It provides them some guidance, and then if they keep going in the wrong direction, we'll physically stop the machine before it gets too close to the air. So we'll be showcasing that, and then a new device that we're excited about. We call it the rear lifter, and it's a device that goes on the bottom of the belt loader and helps the agents offload the cart or load the cart without having to lift the bag. So
Gotcha.
we're trying to focus on those places in the operation where humans are having to pick up bags, and so that's tends to be our focus is eliminating those touch points, or at least providing as much assistance as possible when those
No,
bags.
that's I obviously Rick Agnor on our team.
Yep,
Rick well, and
yep,
he always has some great stories of kind of the difference Power Stow made.
yeah.
Certainly for the Southwest Airlines team when he was there, and for a lot of the members of his group, and especially, I mean, you don't really think about these things, but yeah, the torquing, that motion of lifting these heavy bags and rotating day
Yeah,
in, day out.
yeah.
I mean, that's tremendous wear and tear on the body for these
There's a
operators. And
there's a government agency called NIOSH,
okay,
National Institute of Occupational Safety Health, um, and they study workplace injuries. And baggage handling is the second most dangerous job in America for back and shoulder injuries.
wow,
So those are usually quite expensive injuries. So so
absolutely,
injury reduction is a big part of what we sell.
of what you're doing. And so you're building upon that with some
Yes,
new innovations here. It seems like so that's
correct. Correct.
that's
We'll also
uh,
have
that's
our
pretty exciting.
transfer belt there. That's a device that goes in the bag room that assists the operator when they're offloading the carts into the bag system.
Okay,
Uh, we'll have one of those there, and we'll be at. You asked me this earlier. Stand EX27.
okay, Stan EX20. So you'll be outside, right?
We will be
So
outside.
you'll be
Yes.
outside. And on that note, I mean, it seems like you're incorporating some new technology, right? Some more sensor based improvements to the Power Stow, in addition to what you guys already do well. Uh, what have you seen the role or the impact of that in recent years, and kind of where are you looking to with Power Stow as you think about further enhancements and innovations with sensor tech?
Well, certainly our assisted docking uses more sensors there, lidar sensors. Else, the technology with the rear lifter is somewhat similar to the other technology that we have. We try to use as many common parts as we can.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, it's just as we go forward, just trying to adapt new technologies that we can prove are reliable. As particularly with our
Yeah,
product, with a bag tractor or a standard belt loader or some of these other pieces of equipment, if it breaks down, they just tow it away from the aircraft. But with our system, we're inside the aircraft. If something doesn't work, there's a possible delay, and
right.
so you can become very unpopular very quickly if your system's not reliable.
Yeah,
And so we really do a lot of testing before we incorporate new components
before
in
you deploy.
to make sure that they can stand the heat, they can stand the weather, basically, and the abuse.
Gotcha. And I mean, you work with some of the largest airlines around the world. I mean, what are you hearing in terms of kind of their needs, especially when it comes to not only power stuff, but just in ground support equipment in general? What's kind of the trend that you're seeing?
Well, I mean, you're certainly aware of the trend of going electric, kind of green trend, and then a lot of folks have been transitioning to the lithium batteries.
Hmm.
There seems to be, there can be some communication issues between the batteries and the chargers. So trying to get that stuff ironed out before the unit shows up on site is somewhat of a challenge. But kind of further down the road, I think, we hear customers talking about wishing they had remote diagnostic capabilities. Certainly telemetry and
Mm-hmm.
many of the things that you guys do are, topics of the day. When airlines do a calendar based maintenance cycle, they have to be very lucky to get it right. They're either over maintaining or under maintaining a piece
Mm.
of equipment when they do it by the calendar. So to have the capability of a piece of equipment to alert GSE management that, hey, in the next week or the next 2 weeks, this piece of equipment's up for a PM. I think that's a lot of folks are talking about that and trying to figure out how to solve that.
Yeah, absolutely. And how, I mean, from your perspective, I mean, with PowerSim, with your system, you have a lot of the rollers that are individual, and I'm guessing that's usually a pretty big wear part in your
It,
system. Would you
it,
say?
it historically has been a wear part, but we have gone to a new technology there. In the electric motor world, everybody's heard of AC and DC. The rollers we're putting in now are EC rollers, and I'm
Okay.
not educated enough to fully explain that to you. Other than I know it has no brushes in it,
Okay.
and so it is turning out to be a much more reliable long term reliability part for us.
Understood.
Over in Denmark, Martin Vestergaard and the R&D department there set up a rig with these EC rollers on them and put a piece of plywood and stacked a bunch of bricks on it. And that they've got it set up where it rolls one way, then rolls the other. And it's been doing that 7 days a week, uh, all year, all day, for the last 2.5 years. We're trying to figure out how long
Wow.
these rollers actually last.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
and we haven't been able to break them yet. So, um,
Gotcha. And
yeah.
so, I mean, is that one a component that you would put sensors on or telemetry on, so that from a predictive diagnostics and remote diagnostics capability, is that where you would focus tech, or is there other parts of the Power Stow that should be monitored?
That certainly would be interesting to know that. You might could just tell it from from the PLC. If you're not getting the
Hmm.
voltage back or whatever, there may be a way to do that. I don't know, but yeah, any time that we can help, because our machines are not cheap, and so
Yeah.
we focus a lot on uptime, trying to keep those machines in the operation. One of the other things we do is we use your out of service report uh, that gets sent to us from customers that we have that set up with. And we contact them. If we see a unit that's been out of service for more than 5 days, we reach out to them and say, hey, is there anything we can do to help you with this?
Hmm.
We notice we don't have any parts orders for you, and do you need some technical advice? Do you need a part? So we try to just help get those machines back in service as fast as we can.
Got it. So you're leveraging, so with some of the customers, if they're using a system like EBIS to track their work orders and know when a system's down, then at least they're sharing some of that information, so you can be proactive in helping them get back in service, essentially.
Yes, yeah, we get that report weekly from a number of our airlines customers, and so we reach out. Like I said, if it's out of service for more than 3, 4, 5 days, we'll reach out and say, "Hey, is there something we can do to help?"
That's great. And then are you also forecasting, replacement parts, et cetera, based on some of those reports, or?
Not necessarily on those reports. We have a system where we maintain our inventory here based on historical usage, and so many of these customers have they've got Napa or they've got Sage, so they've got parts
Yeah.
right here in their warehouse, in their shop where they can just go grab that part and then it gets backfilled. So
Gotcha. So, but you're just there to kind of help them at least guide through it, to help troubleshoot and then order the right parts
Correct.
if it's a part issue, or at least send help or troubleshooting help
Yes.
remotely.
Yep. We
Got
do
it.
it remotely, or if it's if it's an issue they simply are having a really hard time figuring out, we'll send somebody there.
Gotcha. All right, so let me ask you for some feedback here. So if you could have it your way, in terms of a system like ours, or any asset management system out there that the airlines are using, as an OEM, right? As in, we're partners here, ultimately trying to help that ground handler or that airline, maintain their uptime,
Right.
as much as possible. What are some things you wish was possible, or information wise, or just the ability to use technology to continue to provide the service that you do for these customers?
Well, it would be nice to be able to remotely access the equipment and be able to help diagnose over a computer. If we could peer right into the program or to see the sensors live, I think that would be something that would be helpful.
Gotcha. And do you add telemetry today to the Power Stow?
Um, Certainly, if the customer asks, we do.
Mm,
I know there's several customers where we are preparing the wire harness for telemetry to be added.
okay.
So I don't think we're actually putting it on here. In some
Gotcha.
cases, the belt loader supplier is putting it on. In some cases, the customer's putting it on once it arrives. But we will try to make it easy for them and have a pigtail for them to plug into versus them having to slice into a brand new wire harness
Yeah.
and
Gotcha.
things. So
And it also gives the customer the flexibility to choose that telemetry vendor,
correct.
on that side. But from your perspective, it would be great to then have a feedback loop back to you, certainly, so that you can help either troubleshoot, but also maybe make improvements. I'm guessing some of the data could be used for making
Sure. Yeah.
improvements.
Yeah. And we lose a little bit. I guess we lose a lot of information once a piece of equipment goes out of warranty. I mean, we can see what parts someone's buying from us,
Mm,
uh, but it would be nice to be able to look deeper into the details because we're constantly trying to. The company is very focused on lowering the total cost of ownership, and so anything we can do to help drive that down, and information would certainly be a key piece of that
keep
to
this I
know.
got it.
You know,
And I'm guessing, I mean, from your perspective, is it just simply the telemetry data would help you do that, or is there
I'm
other
sure we'd have to do some
information?
work on our side to tie, our PLC into that telemetry, and then probably some more work on our side to maybe some additional sensors or ways that we could gather information from the system and pipe it through your telemetry systems.
Gotcha. And I'm guessing would work order information in terms of what parts were used, how much labor was put in to solve for that, and what the actual failures were is also important information, I
I
imagine.
think so. Yeah. If we could look at a work order and say, this guy took 2 hours to do that, and we know it's a 30-minute job, maybe he needs a little more training from us.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And then yeah, and to be able to deploy that training too, where it doesn't have to be sending someone in, but maybe it's videos, things like that that
Yes. Yes.
could be embedded in, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Great. Yeah, and I think that's from our perspective, I think that there's a tremendous opportunity there because, I think we've heard of this, and I think it's only accelerated since the pandemic, which is technicians and the
Right.
availability of technicians, and
Right.
you have a lot of knowledge that's left, is retired, and so you have a lot of new
Yes.
people,
Yep.
and so that training piece is super important. So I think there's a huge opportunity from our perspective for the OEMs, to work with vendors like us as well in service of a mutual customer. And if we can find ways to provide guidance through applications like ours that the technicians are using to solve or repair something, and if you can use that as a medium to share your knowledge, I think that goes a long way,
Agree.
to solve for that. No, it's great. I appreciate the thought process and the partnership there. So I think super excited for hopefully some new things that we could be doing there, in service of some mutual.
Yep.
Um, and, And what I think we have a few mutual customers out there. What are some other ways that you are supporting them, and what would be some advice for some of the other vendors in the ecosystem? Like what are we not paying attention to?
You know, I think just stay in constant contact. We do a lot of visits to our customers. It's kind of, to me, there's nothing better than showing up. Uh,
Yeah,
I almost, in fact, I mentioned it to one of my colleagues on a visit we did last week. I don't think I've ever gone to a customer visit, gone on site, gone out on the ramp where either I didn't learn something or I wasn't able to convey some key information to them that they needed. It always seems to be worthwhile just getting out there. I think
yeah,
this is a tough job to do effectively if you're locked behind your desk.
yeah.
Uh, I think
No,
just
and that's a very important message, and I think that's it's always trying to maintain that balance is difficult, but to your point, is very necessary.
yeah.
Otherwise,
And just
you're
building the
missing out on some key
relationships. I think
information.
for me that's the most fun part about this industry, this job is just the relationships and the friendships that we built with folks. And when you have a good relationship with somebody, they don't mind picking up the phone and calling you about something that's irritating them. Uh,
Right,
you know,
right.
and you can solve a little problem before it becomes a big problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And, you could throw technology at a lot of that, but there's also that human side of
Yeah,
that and the relationship and the trust that
yeah.
certainly technology can help augment that, but it's not a replacement. No, that's great. That's a great point. Then, yeah, and my correct, my notes tell me that it's the 20th anniversary of Power Stow this year. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, we just had it. Well, was it late? Was it the end of last year? I don't remember. I should know. I went to the party, but yes, 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great. Yeah. And it's actually, Evis's 25th anniversary this year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we're super excited now. We see I'm playing a very small part in that, but Eric Ballwell, and he
Yeah,
started it with Michael Lentini back in '99, and Eric's still a huge part of the company and still hacking away. So
yeah,
uh,
good.
yeah, we joke about it. I think uh, I guess officially Ebis is off his insurance if it was his child. I think
Yeah,
so.
that's funny.
So yeah. Anyway, exciting time, and we're looking to celebrate that ourselves in Lisbon. So we're going to have a happy hour at our booth as well.
Oh, good.
So you'll definitely have to be part of that. So
No problem.
yeah.
I never miss a happy.
Then sorry, what was
I
that?
never miss a happy hour.
Yeah, never miss a happy hour. Plenty of those going around, right?
Yeah.
So then some other big news. You I think announced retiring soon here in a couple of years. Is that right?
A couple years, yeah, yeah. We're going to go through a kind of a lengthy process here. We've actually hired my eventual replacement, a gentleman
Okay.
named Ken Brown, who came 35 or 38 years with United Airlines,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
KB as everybody calls him. So he's on board here, and he and I are kind of sharing the job for the next 2 years. So hopefully he'll be fully trained by the time I'm doing other things. So
Yeah. I mean, he's
I'm
got a
not
good
totally
teacher, I'm
leaving
sure.
either. I'll be. It's 2 years. KB and I will work together, and then I'll be around kind of halftime for a year, and then they've already asked me. I'm already on the board of Power Stow Americas, and so I'll still be involved.
Oh, very cool.
I'll still come to the shows and some of the big
Yeah.
event things. So
And
yeah,
you're a chairman of the AIMA board, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, is that something that you hope to continue your involvement with? I'm sure.
Certainly for the next couple of years, yeah, maybe
Yeah.
next 2 or 3, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Cool.
Yeah,
What are your
yeah,
plans in the future here? Anything you
um,
could share?
yeah, yeah. I want to get a bigger boat and do the Great Loop.
Okay. What's that? I'm not familiar with that.
So it's a year-long boating trip where you pick a place where you want to start. Let's just say you start in Savannah, Georgia, and you spend the spring going up the East Coast through the Intercoastal Waterway, and then about June you want to be in the Erie Canal, and you spend
Okay.
the summer going around the Great Lakes, and then you come down the Chicago River about Labor Day, about this time of year. Spend the fall coming down the rivers, And as soon as hurricane season's over, you pop out in the Gulf of Mexico, spend the deep part of the winter in the Keys, and then you're back where you started a year later.
Wow. That's cool. And is this a sailboat? Is it a
No, a powerboat.
powerboat? Okay, I gotcha. That's cool. And how long have you been doing or boating, I guess?
I think as long as I can remember. I don't know. I've had a boat since my first boat was 20 years ago, I guess. But I've had friends who've had boats, and so I've always been any opportunity I could get to get out on the water.
That's amazing. Is this a? I'm guessing your wife's joining on this, or are you going?
Well, that's the
going
plan.
solo.
Yes, certainly the plan.
Yeah, I mean that is a commitment, right? I mean for a whole
Definitely.
year, so
Yeah.
she
You
must
could,
enjoy it too. Then,
people will get somewhere and dock the boat and fly home for a couple of weeks and then come back. So
yeah,
it's not
gotcha.
like you're necessarily completely gone from home for a year, but
Yeah, no, that's cool though. That sounds amazing. I've never heard of that, so it sounds pretty amazing. Jealous.
well, we'll see if we get to do it. There's a few things got to fall in place. So
Yeah, yeah, but I'm sure. Well, you have 2 years to plan it, so
that's right. That's
that's
right.
right. So great. What else, Ben? What haven't I asked you that you wish I asked you today?
Let me think. No, I think you pretty much covered it.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. Certainly, hey, thank you again for joining the podcast and sharing a little bit about Power Stow and your journey, and certainly
Sure.
really looking forward to the show here in a couple of weeks. Could you remind the audience again on the dates? I think September 17th, right? Is that right?
Hold on.
Yeah,
I wasn't prepared with that one. It is, yes, 17th, 18th, and 19th of
18th
September.
and 19th. Wonderful. Yeah, and I think you were telling me before is it a plan to do this because it alternates between Vegas and Europe, but is there
Yes.
a plan to do Lisbon for multiple of these rounds, or are we going to
Yes.
switch it up
So
again?
the show is committed for 3 times in Lisbon.
Okay, very
Uh,
cool.
6 years, I guess. So the parking lot there where we'll have the outdoor exhibit was, I think, like crushed shells. And so obviously you can't be driving pushback tractors and container loaders and those type of things on that. So the venue committed to paving the parking lot, but we had to commit to have the show there 3 times for them to make that investment. So that's all been done now.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so we had to commit to have the show there for 3 times.
Yeah, so that's a huge investment, and so certainly need to pay that back. So yeah, I mean, I've only heard great things about that part of Europe, and certainly looking forward to that. So that could be
Yeah,
a staple here, just
yeah.
like Vegas is. I guess. Anything else that you're looking forward to at the show? That what are some things that we shouldn't miss for those that are coming for the first?
Well, my favorite part of the show is just catching up with so many friends in the industry that we travel a fair amount, so I get to see some of them,
Yeah,
with some regularity. But certainly there are folks that I haven't seen, and even just some of the other sales folks in the industry are fun to catch up with. And so it's just a big industry gathering, and I just have a good
absolutely.
time catching up with everybody. So
Yeah, it certainly feels like a very close knit community. I think more so than some of these larger shows. You can kind of get lost in the sea of people, and
right,
but it also always feels like the GSE group certainly long history, a lot of relationships, and that have
yeah,
been fostered over the years, and
yeah,
it always feels like a
rehashing
big
old.
reunion almost.
We were laughing this morning. One of the good things about going to the show is you get to see what golf shirt everybody's wearing this time. Seems like nobody ever gets out of the business. They just change their golf shirt.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's like it's what is it? It's a big small industry, right? In a
Correct.
lot of ways. So
Yeah.
we talk about that quite a bit, and it's funny because we have a few folks on the team that obviously come from the airline side or the ground handling side, and you can just kind of see the lineage of
Yeah.
the different companies that many belong to, and then you hear of, oh yeah, this person in my network is now here, and then
Yeah.
they started with me in
Yeah.
ASIG or something like that, and
Yeah.
it's always fascinating to hear those stories.
It's
But
good fun. No, it should
well,
be fun. I'm
Ben,
looking forward to it.
yeah, me too. Me too. So, Ben, thank you so much once again for joining us today. and certainly look forward to our continued partnership here, and look forward to seeing you in Lisbon in a couple
Yep.
weeks.
Yep.
So,
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
all right, thanks, Ben.